My whole life, my parents treated me like I didn't belong. At every family dinner, my accomplishments were ignored while everyone praised my cousins. During holidays, I was invited but somehow always left out. By the time I turned 31, I had learned to smile through the pain and pretend it didn't bother me. My name is Harper Sloan. The annual family reunion felt no different. It was held at a lakeside lodge, packed with relatives laughing and catching up. My mother barely looked at me. My father gave me a quick nod before turning back to a conversation about someone else's success. I quietly took a seat in the corner and stayed out of the way. About an hour later, I noticed my Aunt Denise talking to a well-dressed woman near the refreshment table. They looked at me more than once before Denise pointed in my direction. "We usually don't talk about her," Denise said. The words hurt, but I wasn't surprised. The stranger looked at me for a few seconds. Instead of agreeing, she reached into her blazer, pulled out a business card and handed it to Denise. "That's interesting," she said. "She's actually the reason I'm here today." The room fell silent. My father grabbed the card, read a single line, and his face instantly turned pale. No one spoke. My aunt tried to look at the card again while my mother stepped closer. "What is it?" she asked. My father quickly folded the card. "Nothing," he muttered. The stranger shook her head. "I think Harper deserves to know." Every pair of eyes turned toward me. For the first time that day, I wasn't invisible. The woman introduced herself as Victoria Mercer. She looked calm and professional, though she seemed uncomfortable with the tension in the room. "I've been searching for Harper Sloan for months," she said. I frowned. "Why?" Victoria glanced at my parents before answering. "Because someone connected to my company left clear instructions that I personally find you." The silence grew even heavier. My mother forced an uneasy laugh. "There has to be some mistake." "There isn't," Victoria replied. She reached into her bag and carefully removed a sealed envelope. The moment I saw it, my heart skipped a beat. My father's handwriting was on the front. The envelope looked old, its edges worn as though it had been hidden away for years. "It was placed in our care with legal instructions," Victoria explained. "We were told not to deliver it until today." My father slowly stepped backward. Then he whispered words that chilled me. "That envelope should never have survived." I stared at him in disbelief. "What do you mean, it should never have survived?" The moment the words left my mouth, he realized what he had revealed. His jaw tightened. My mother quickly grabbed his arm, almost as if they had rehearsed this moment. Victoria noticed the reaction. "I was wondering when someone would respond like that," she said quietly. The envelope remained in her hand. For the first time in years, even Aunt Denise looked nervous. She avoided my eyes completely. I looked at Victoria. "What exactly is this?" She met my gaze. 5 years ago, one of our clients created a delayed legal instruction. He paid for it himself and ordered that this envelope be delivered to you at this family reunion. 5 years ago. My heart began pounding. That was the same year my grandfather died. The very grandfather my parents claimed had left me nothing. After his funeral, they told me he believed I was irresponsible. My cousins received treasured keepsakes. My parents inherited property. I got nothing but an old watch and a short letter that never felt right. Victoria stepped forward and held out the envelope. Before I could take it, my father suddenly rushed toward us. "Don't open it." The room froze. No one could miss the fear in his voice. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in my father's eyes. I took the envelope from Victoria's hands. As I looked at it, I noticed another line written beneath my name in my grandfather's handwriting. "If this reaches you, the truth has finally escaped them." A chill ran through my body. I knew his handwriting better than anyone. I had treasured every birthday card and handwritten note he ever gave me. There was no doubt it was his. I looked up. My mother was the first to look away. That told me everything. With shaking hands, I opened the envelope while the entire room watched in silence. Inside was a letter and a small flash drive. The letter began with 3 simple words. "Harper, forgive me." My vision blurred as I continued reading. My grandfather explained that, months before his death, he discovered that certain family members were hiding financial records connected to property he had planned to leave to me. When he confronted them, the records mysteriously disappeared. I couldn't read another word. Slowly I looked at my parents. My father stared at the floor. My mother looked like she was about to collapse. Victoria quietly broke the silence. The flash drive contains documents that support everything written in the letter. Before anyone could react, Aunt Denise stepped forward. That doesn't prove anything. Her voice sounded more frightened than confident. Victoria calmly opened another folder. Actually, it does. She placed several certified documents on the table. Relatives rushed over to examine them. Within moments, shocked whispers filled the room. My cousin Ethan picked up one page, then looked straight at my father. Dad, why is Uncle Mark's signature on every altered document? The room exploded with confusion. My father, Mark Sloan, had always been seen as the most honest and respected person in the family. Now everyone was staring at evidence that suggested otherwise. Ethan picked up another file. This isn't just one document, he said quietly. There are dozens. No one argued. The evidence spoke for itself. Property transfers. Financial records. Ownership changes. Every document showed the same pattern. My parents had quietly redirected assets meant for me into their own hands. My mother finally found her voice. You're misunderstanding everything. But no one believed her. Victoria opened the folder again. There's more. She laid out copies of emails and bank statements showing money moving through accounts controlled by my parents just before my grandfather's estate was settled. My stomach turned. It wasn't the money that hurt. It was realizing that every painful memory suddenly made sense. The constant criticism. Being left out of family events. The way they kept me away from my grandfather during the last months of his life. He had known. He had tried to protect me. Suddenly my father slammed his fist onto the table. I did what I had to do. The confession escaped before he could stop himself. Gasps echoed across the lodge. Then he said something even worse. He was going to destroy this family because of her. The words hung in the air. For years I had wondered why I was never enough. Now I finally understood. He had never seen me as his daughter. He had seen me as a threat. A threat. I asked quietly. He looked me straight in the eyes. You were his favorite. The bitterness in his voice sounded older than I was. No one knew what to say. After a long silence, he laughed without humor. He planned to leave you the lakeside properties, the investment accounts, almost everything he built. The room went completely silent. My mother began crying. Not because she felt sorry for me. Because the truth was finally out. Victoria handed me another document. It contained notes from meetings between my grandfather and his attorney. Every meeting included the same concern. He believed my parents were manipulating his estate. He had documented every warning, every suspicion, every detail. My father knew those notes existed. That was why he looked defeated. One by one, relatives stepped away from him. Ethan moved first. Then Aunt Denise. Soon everyone else followed. The man who had controlled the family for decades suddenly stood completely alone. Victoria spoke one final time. Our firm has already turned all of these records over to state investigators. My father's face went completely blank. This reunion wasn't the beginning of his problems. It was the end. What surprised me most was that no one defended him. For years, my family had ignored every cruel thing they did to me. Every insult became a joke. Every unfair decision became family business. But faced with undeniable evidence, their loyalty disappeared. My father looked around the room searching for support. He found none. My mother slowly walked toward me. Tears ran down her face. Harper, please listen. I had waited my whole life to hear those words. Now they meant nothing. What should I listen to? I asked calmly. The part where you let everyone believe I was unwanted. Or the part where you helped steal Grandpa's inheritance? She couldn't answer. She simply broke down. The truth was written all over her face. Both. Victoria quietly stood near the doorway while Ethan walked over and handed me his phone. A video was playing. It had been recorded years earlier. My grandfather appeared on the screen. He looked older and weaker than I remembered, but his kind smile was unmistakable. The room fell silent once again. I don't know if you're watching this, Harper, he began. But if you are, then the people I trusted have already betrayed both of us. My throat tightened. Then he said something none of us expected. The inheritance was never the greatest gift I wanted to leave you. He smiled softly. Money can be earned again. Land can be sold. Accounts can disappear. but character lasts forever. He looked directly into the camera. Harper, you were never the black sheep. You were the only one willing to stay honest, even when honesty came with a price. Tears filled my eyes. My whole life I had believed the labels my family gave me. Difficult. Wanted. A disappointment. Yet the one person who truly knew me had never believed any of them. My grandfather's voice grew softer. If the truth ever comes out, don't spend your future chasing revenge. Let consequences take care of themselves. Build a life so meaningful that their choices no longer matter. The video ended. No one spoke. Outside the lodge, investigators had arrived. My father sat alone in silence while relatives kept their distance. My mother tried to approach me one last time. I simply wished her well and walked away. Not because I had forgiven her. Because I no longer needed her approval. For the first time in my life I felt completely free. The family that had spent years treating me like an outsider no longer had any power over me. I hadn't just recovered an inheritance. I had finally recovered myself,